It's time for Declare Your Independence with Ernest Hancock.
Believe me when I say we have a difficult time ahead of us. But if we are to be prepared for it, we must first shed our fear of it. I stand here without fear because I remember that I am here not because of the path that lies before me, but because of the path that lies behind me. I remember that for 100 years we have fought these machines. And after a century of war, I remember that which matters most. We are still here! Tonight, let us make them remember we are not afraid!
No fear here and Declare Your Independence with me, Ernest Hancock. Alessandro Fusillo from Italia. He's on. I love talking to Alessandro. We're going to get positive waves. Not like he doesn't know what's going on, but we get positive waves. Now, let me introduce you to him real quick. Alessandro Fusillo graduated in 1968 from the University of Rome. La Sapienza cum laude in 92. Enrolled in the Bar Association of Rome in 95. Since 15, he is admitted to the bar in Spain. So here we got Italy, Spain. During the COVID-19 pandemic, both as president of the Italian libertarian movement and as attorney at law, Fusillo spearheaded resistance and disobedience. He's one of them. Actions against lockdowns and restrictions. Through his Telegram channel, Difendersi Ora, I've got to spell that out because Italy. You know, DIFENDERSI space ORA. Difendersi. Yeah, say it for me, will you?
It's Difendersi Ora, which means defend yourself now. That's the meaning.
Oh, I like that. Defend yourself. Okay. Fusillo reached out to hundreds of thousands of people with legal tutorials and material to resist vaccine mandates and government dictates. Thousands of people participated in Fusillo's class action against the Italian government. Since 21, Fusillo has intensive activity as public speaker in rallies and conferences. His interest in libertarian philosophy and Austrian economics began in 2010. He writes articles for Freedom's Phoenix and Miglo Verde. What is that? Tell us about that, what that means.
Sorry, what do you mean, Ernie? I didn't hear you.
Miglio Verde, Italy's most important.
This is an online journal which was founded by my friend and the founder of the Italian libertarian movement as well, Leonardo Facco. It's an online journal where you have mostly libertarian contents and Austrian economics and politics and political philosophy. And I have been writing over and over again articles for Miglio Verde.
And he's also been a speaker at Acapulco in 2016, where we hung out. He's a regular at Hoppi's Property and Freedom Society annual conference, member of Mises Germany. Further, Fusillo has 2 weekly interviews with independent YouTube channels. And during this, there was an organization that, since going to start shutting down, the founders decided that, hey, man, I've had enough. But Alessandro hasn't. Now, didn't you have law offices in Rome, Madrid, and Berlin? Weren't you in Germany?
Yes, I am half German because my mother was German, so one of my mother tongues is German, the other one being Italian, and I have been working with Germany and with German clients ever since, and I have 2 law firms which work with me in Germany, in Munich and in Berlin, and then in Spain, and my main offices are in Italy, in Rome. So I have been doing a lot on the international legal scene. I have been doing lots of international law, and in Europe anyway, international law is very important.
Yeah, to have a freedom guy going, directly in the middle of COVID saying no. That's rare. So I'm sure you got a lot of attention on that. One of the things after Alessandro and I had first met, and Mark Victor, good friend of both of ours, and he came to visit Mark. We got to hang out, go do stuff and everything. And it was right when the Paris AK-47 shootings at concert restaurants and all that kind of stuff. And he goes back to Italy and he writes a paper about gun rights. Oh, hell no. They didn't like that none too much. But, of course, it sparked a lot of attention, and he continued with the freedom mindset in this. He really got into. I think we found you. You were on Lou Rockwell or something, writing. That's how Mark first found you. And then of course he comes to the attention of Annie and everybody. Now, this is a European thing. Being an attorney for clients that try to retain their wealth, bypass regulation, understand this EU thing. What was the focus of your practice? And then I want you to answer, are you retired and semi on vacation? Are you still operating your law firms? You keep an office and a desk and a computer there or something? Tell me what's up.
Unfortunately, I'm still working a lot for my clients. And yes, basically, I'm in my career as a lawyer, I never worked for public institutions and offices. I always worked for private clients. And my main focus, even before being interested in libertarian philosophy and Austrian economy, has always been to save people from the greedy hands of the Leviathan and help them navigate the crazy regulations and try to save their assets and save their especially financial privacy. So this is something which I have been doing for a very long time, and I'm still doing it. And I think this is the only way to make your profession have any sense if you are a lawyer. If you are a lawyer and you're part of the system and not an enemy of the system, then you're just another part of this giant machinery, and this would go against my moral principles. So what I have always been doing is helping the clients to escape as good as it's possible the crazy regulations, the confiscatory taxation, and whatever you have. That's why you need to be flexible. You need to know many parts of the law. You need to be versed in international law. You need to know many languages, because this is all part of a strategy to try to escape the huge powers of the state. And of course, this I have been doing all my life long. But during the last years, since the COVID crisis, you mentioned it before, I made lots of tutorials. I made lots of videos, simply teaching the people what to do, how to react, how to avoid fines, how to talk to the police when they came to impose mask mandates or vaccine mandates and so on. And this has been very successful. Last Sunday I was at a conference, and I had a few people coming. They were entrepreneurs, small entrepreneurs, and at that time I prepared a protocol for entrepreneurs, how to avoid checking their own employees and how to avoid the controls by the police about the vaccine mandates. And they told me, we used your protocols and we were very successful. The policemen were always pissed off because they couldn't do anything. And so this has been a big satisfaction for me to help all these people. And that's how I could gain so many followers on Telegram, on X, former Twitter, and talk about libertarian themes, libertarian arguments to people who probably would never had come to the libertarian philosophy. And this was very important because this was a big boost to the freedom movement in Italy and in Europe. And so the human action is unpredictable. And what they had in mind when they launched the COVID pandemic thing, they thought this would be the establishment of a giant dictatorship, of a new form of totalitarianism, but they didn't consider how people would react and what would happen. And in fact, the freedom community is much stronger now than it was 6 years ago. And this is, I think, a good development. Even from something very bad as the so-called COVID crisis, something good came out.
Yeah, no, of course. Humans act in their own self-interest of, I don't want to die, then I don't want to be ruled, and I don't want to, and now you're in that environment. How's the youth? You know, I mean, I know a lot of a lot of people that you converse with and so on, you know, understand and see the logic of what you advocate. But I'm wondering, the young, you know, the Students for Liberty type, the Arizona Project kids, the young libertarian leave me aloneism people, is that increasing? We see things like, you know, more and more people are, you know, going to church, or they're starting to look for a more conservative mindset and come across libertarianism. Whoa, where you been all my life? But I'm wondering how suppressed the internet and conversations are, because here I'm an internet news guy. You specifically got to go to certain places. It's not making the lamestream media, the media so last century here, what's going on in the streets in Europe. And I see so many videos, but now you don't know, because it could be AI. I mean, I have no idea what the hell's going on, which is one of the things that they try to do, is confuse you. And so tell us what's really happening in the European countries. How's the EU doing? How are the youth in the streets or not? Is it the youth, or is it older people? What is happening in Europe that we need to know here?
Well, basically, what is happening now, at least I would point to some important facts. First, the European Union as a political organization, as a sort of super European government, government of governments, you could define it, is under attack, especially under attack from Donald Trump, the United States, and Elon Musk. Recently made lots of tweets against the European Union. But in fact, the European Union is slowly crumbling since lots of years. The European Union has no real support from the people. Whenever they held votations, referendums about the European Union, they always failed. Not every country makes it possible to vote about the European Union. For example, Italy is not one of the countries where you can vote on international law, but in other countries they made votations. Well, because it's forbidden from our constitution, as you would imagine. There are some things we have a general rule that we can have a referendum to abolish laws. So you are typically asked, do you wish to keep the law or do you wish to abolish a certain law? And we had lots of referendums, and but there are some limits in our constitution. You cannot vote on tax matters, fiscal matters. You cannot repeal tax laws, and you cannot vote on international law. So you see where the real important things are for the government. You're not allowed to
left open.
But whenever they did in other European countries, the outcome was very bad for the European Union. No one really wants the European Union. The European Union is a sort of super government, a sort of federal state, but it's not so powerful as the American federal states, but in part it's even more powerful. For example, on almost any topic, the European Union can make laws. and the laws passed in the states. So the single states of Europe, in a way, they are independent states with prime minister and foreign minister and so on, and so they have more statehood than American states. But on other things, they are much weaker because they have to accept lots of regulations and laws coming from the European Union, which are directly applicable within the states, and they break the national law. So European law is more important than national law. Anyway, this whole construction, nobody wants it. The European Union was born in 1957. In fact, it was an American project. The Americans won World War II together with the Russians, and on the American controlled part of Europe, they wanted to have it easier, to have something which they could control easier than a number of single small states. So they decided to implement the European Union. Of course, the propaganda was this will be the guarantee for peace and prosperity and so on. But the real reason was the Americans wanted to have one partner to talk to, which is at that time it was the European Economic Community. Then it changed name. It became the European Community, and then it became the European Union. But it's basically the same thing. But when it was born, it was much easier. The idea was to create a space of free movement of people and merchandise. So it was basically about free commerce. And the project wasn't bad. So the idea was to slash all customs laws, to make it easier to sell and buy across borders, and to make it easier to work wherever you wanted in Europe. This changed over the years, and it became a huge bureaucracy. You have European institution, the European Council, the European Commission, who are the real powerhouses in the European Union, and they are expression of the single governments. They are appointed by the single governments. Then you have a European Parliament, which is a very strange parliament because it's a parliament which doesn't approve laws. Or better to say, they accept the laws which are passed by the Council and the Commission. So they can say only yes. They're yes man, the European Parliament. And they are elected, but yeah, that's crazy, ridiculous. And they can't even, they don't even have a real power on the government. You know, lots of parliamentary democracies have a very strong connection between the majority in the parliament and the government. Like in the UK, for example, you need a confidence vote from the parliament. In the European Union, that's not 100% like this. The European Parliament approves the commissioner. At that time, the president is Miss Ursula von der Leyen. Then she appoints. The president of the commission appoints the commissaries, which are one for every country. So it's not so much a political government, but it's a national representation of the different countries. And to kick them out, you need a 2/3 majority of the parliament. So it never happened, and it's very unlikely that it ever will happen that the parliament is able to get rid of a European government, which is the European Commission.
Well, is there a clause in there that allows countries to get out? Does it? I mean, is it even? They go, nope, you're in forever and always.
No, there is a clause, and in fact, the only ones who used this clause were the British after the Brexit vote in 2016, and they managed to get out of the European Union. It was not so easy. It was a big problem. I think the British government was surprised about the outcome of the Brexit vote. I think Cameron, at that time, the Prime Minister in the UK, was convinced that the Remain would win, but instead Brexit won. The real problem is, if you look at the UK now, you asked me about the situation in Europe now, you see that, okay, it's better not to be part of the European Union, but that's not the solution. The problems they have in the UK about, for example, freedom of expression are terrible. In Britain, you can be jailed for 3 years just for a repost on X. That happens. If you repost something that is considered hate speech against immigrants or whatever, you can easily get huge prison sentences, and it's happening. It's happening. So yes, the European Union is bad, but the problem is politics as usual. The British politics is crazy. They really live in a dictatorship where free speech is heavily under attack. And that's where, for example,
have you
we
been to
in
London,
Italy, in general,
in the last
Southern Europe,
year or so?
Better. No, I haven't. But one of the guys who makes regular interviews with me, Riccardo Rocchesso, he was, I think, yesterday in London. There was a big manifestation against the digital ID, and he was invited there by David Icke, and he was there. And we're in touch with British protest movements there. But I think from France and people who visited London in the last months and weeks, the atmosphere gets from bad to worse there. And this is, I told you, this is the difference with Southern Europe. We have some freedom of speech. What is more and more difficult in Northern Europe, in Germany, and in the UK, in France, at least in the southern part of Europe, we retain a little bit of at least freedom of expression.
Well, of course you can say what you want to say, but they come after you anyway. You know, this is, I'm interested in, one of the parts of my question is the youth. You know, I know you speak before a lot of crowds and you get a lot of, support because, freedom's the answer is always popular, but supported by whom? I mean, the young people, are they involved, engaged, or are they just staring at their phone all the time? I mean, what is the prospect for general public opinion in Europe with the youth in the future? I mean, immediate future, within a year, 2, 3, where is this going? I mean, there's a lot of problems, unemployment, lack of free speech, pissed off kids, no opportunities, immigration thing, crime. And the youth is where psychologically or philosophically, where are they now?
Well, there I must say I'm quite pessimistic. During the last years, at conferences, rallies, public manifestations, you saw the protest movement is mostly people above 40 years age. There aren't that many young guys. There are some, of course. For example, recently I was contacted by a very young guy who was studying in Denmark and who offered himself to help me with libertarian philosophy and with libertarian websites and trying to get through the philosophy of self-ownership. And so I met some very interesting young guys, but the majority are not young.
Well,
this is one of the biggest problems of the movement. Yeah, this is one of the biggest problems. We need to find ways to be appealing for younger people who are, I don't know, it's strange. Lots of young people, they just gave up. They accept the reality as it is. They accept the fact that the government is overwhelming, that the
you must join
power
the board.
Structure. Yeah. Yes, you could express it this way. Yeah, but still, okay. There are young people.
I'm sorry, we got a little bit of delay because of delay. Well, what we're doing the philosophy of liberty. That was very powerful for us for decades, 90s, early 2000s. Libertarians dominated the internet. When it came, it was a libertarian thing. And after I remember when it happened, it was the '04 election cycle here in America, when every politician had a website by then. And it was Howard Dean was running for the Democratic nomination, and he was getting flash mobs. All of a sudden, 4,000 or 5,000 people show. We didn't see that again in politics until the Ron Paul, revolution. And, 24-hour notice and 10,000 kids are in a stadium for Ron. So I'm going, damn, Well, that started in '04 with Howard Dean. And they had to get rid of that, man. Hell no. And here came all of the tools, that they had for big government. They go, yeah, we're losing this internet. We got to get that alt media internet. That was on the internet. That don't count, that kind of thing. Until it did, they wanted to control everything. So here comes Facebook, and here comes. And then we find out Twitter and Facebook, all these were government controlled, or certainly they were in bed with them. And it was a manipulation and influence, just crap. So what happened was, you could see that they were going, and then the revolution hit. Just a few years ago, boom, and YouTube everything, and it was so decentralized, they couldn't cope with it. They couldn't deal with it. It was unexpected. But after the level, by '09, we got it dialed in now. So we have to get decentralized. We have to get off of that, control grid. So that's what we're working on. And one of the projects with that is we got to get the youth. I don't know, can we get 8 minutes out of them? I mean, that's the philosophy of liberty was an enormously powerful tool. We used it with the Hispanic community. We had it translated in Arabic during Arab Spring. We did, in English everywhere. QR codes now, you can put a IPFS hash up there. That's kind of complicated, but just click QR code, got a link, put them everywhere, boom, and you get every language. And the Liberty International is providing us with the raw footage so that you can translate it, in case Navajo or Apache hasn't been translated. So this is a conscious effort to take care of the problem that you're describing, that there is no understanding of what this philosophy of liberty thing is unless they read, Bastiat, or Hayek or Mises or certainly Rothbard or something, Ayn Rand, something. But I get there, so it has to be we're free, but are we at liberty? You're not at liberty to do that. Liberty is kind of a state of mind, a state of liberty. That's what we're pushing, so that we can seed, as we have over the decades, this youth being informed. They may not agree right away until they start actually working and getting a paycheck with all the taxes out. But, they get this foundational understanding, and we can do it in 46, 50 languages. And Ken's all in, Corbett's all in. I know you're supportive. We got Mark Victor, Live and Let Live, Liberty International, a lot of, old guard libertarian party people that know better now. So this is going to be a big effort, and I'm thinking beware the Ides of March, because we're in an election cycle here in America. It's going to get a lot of attention. It sounds cool, and it gives us time to get everything ready. Now, of course, we'll launch as we get stuff. We're not going to wait. You don't want to wait. But, kind of an explosion on this. So I wanted you, because Ken, you're familiar with this animation. I want to know, was that one of the early things that you saw? Did it have an impact on you? And how good of a tool you think it'll be for solving the problem that you see?
Yeah, I'm very familiar with the animation. In fact, I helped Ken with the Italian translation of the philosophy of liberty, and I think it's a very, very powerful tool because it's short. It goes right to the point. It's funny. It's hard not to agree with the messages that you get from there. So I'm very fond of this animation. In fact, publish it over the years, sometimes both on my channel and on Twitter, and I will do it again. I think this is a very good approach. It's an approach that can appeal to younger people. Maybe long books and conferences about economy and politics could be boring, but this video is so powerful because it shows you the obvious. You cannot be against the idea of self-ownership, and once you accept self-ownership, all the rest, more or less, is just a logical derivation from self-ownership. So yes, I'm more than willing to be part of the project, to launch it again, and to be one of the people all over the world who contribute to diffuse this animation. I think Ken did a great job with this video, as well as he did with his book, The Adventures of Jonathan Gallibel, which exists also in an Italian translation. And I think we should use more of these tools, of this approach. For example, one of the things they do with my videos is they take just some short extracts of my videos, and they go on TikTok or other platforms where I'm not on these platforms, but they publish these short extracts of my videos, and they have huge success. Often,
of course,
I don't even know about it, but but this is a good approach to have something short and sweet to bring over the message. This is very important. And,
yeah, the message. It's not even agree with it. It's just to have the message out there so it's understood. You know, I don't care if the super communist comes out and says, well, they believe the self-ownership thing and all the ew, and that you get property and all that. That's what at least they know what we believe. They just need to clearly articulate it. You can say that as often and as loud as you want. I just need them to understand. So this is something that I already see what's coming.
Yeah, that's the whole point.
You know, this is one thing. Yeah, so Corbett and I did a long interview with Ken, and what happened? He wrote the Adventures of Jonathan Gullible. He goes to Russia, 92, 3 around in there. A guy in St. Petersburg. He was a tour guide. Now he's a billionaire grocer. So they made friends with him back when, and he goes, we need to publish this. We got to publish this. So in 93, because the Russian people had no concept of self-ownership or property, the state had all the property, or taxes, or any of this stuff, they're like, what are you talking about? So he goes, Ken, I need, something, that's kind of a prelude, an introduction to what this is about. Well, he got his own, I knew him by Lux Luker. That's not his real name. He remembered his real name. But he helped us back in 2003 with the dissemination of our radio show here out of the Valley. That's how I knew him. And, so he was one of those freedom geek guys, nerdy libertarian computer guy. He passed away from complications from diabetes, several years ago. But he was a young guy like your guy. Came out, I want to help. He's the one that created that video animation. And that's what went to Russia as an introduction for them to understand Jonathan Gullible, so they could even have the words, defined. So this is great for Eastern Bloc, which is why I wanted to do it when, the Muslim Brotherhood jumped in front of Tahrir Square's parade and said, vote for us or whatever. You don't need Pharaoh number 382, You need to understand what this is about. So that's why I'm doing it. When things get bad, I'm going, how is that being used? Who's doing it? It's not. And a lot of the young now, as I talk to them, they have no idea what I'm talking about. Last night, we were at the supper club because it was, Bill of Rights Day, December 15th here, and had a big party. And I'm asking people, how many? Well, of course, out of, a dozen people, 3 remember it, knew it. I'm going, oh, hell no. You're going to know it now. So we're going to go ahead and get everything loaded up. If you have a favorite Italian version that you helped with, by the way. So if you send that link to me to get that file. We're going to load it up on IPFS. We're going to create all the QR codes for the hashes. We're going to have the embeds. We're going to have, and get everything all ready. And we can share it and launch it and beta it and all that kind of crap. But beware the Ides of March, middle March, I guarantee we're going to whip some ass. And I just know Alessandro Fusillo from Italia is an ass whipper. Can I count on you to do some ass whipping? Can I? Come on, man. Say
it. Sure. Yes. We will be whipping ass. No problem about that. I'll do my part. Yes, that's a good idea.
I want you to maintain your thought there. Don't lose that. But in the context, because we got a delay, I want to give you a couple of things to pontificate on. One is, how would this be perceived in Europe? How socialist-minded? I think they need something like this to get over the hump of what really they're doing. You know what I mean? They'll advocate for something. The philosophy of liberty is like, well, then you're a tyrant. I mean, you're not getting it. And what kind of impact would that have? Or are they gone so far, so woke, so gay, so trans, so, men playing soccer? I mean, are they so far down that, I don't know, they're not salvageable? What do you think?
No, I think people are receptive for the ideas of freedom. So especially, I mentioned before, during the last 5-6 years, when we had a really brutal attack of governments against individual freedoms, people react almost instinctively in defense of liberty. For example, in the last weeks in Italy, we had some big cases coming up in the mainstream media about these so-called social institutions who take away children from their families, owing to crazy laws because the parents homeschooled them and they didn't do it properly according to the Italian laws about homeschooling, or because there was a family who was living in a secluded area in the woods, and they refused civilization, let's say, and so they took away their children from them, although the children were living happily with their parents. And this, there was a huge outcry, even in mainstream media. So once you see freedom under attack, people feel maybe they don't know what's all behind the idea of self-ownership and so on, but still, once you attack freedom, people react. And this is what gives me hope. This is what they didn't calculate during the COVID crisis. They thought they would all just comply and bow their heads and do whatever in order to do. But this is not what happened. We don't comply. Not all the people, but there's a substantial portion of the people who did not comply, who were not in agreement with all what was happening. And we can even build on this community. We had a sort of a revolution of rebellion during the last years, and this community still exists. There are new friendships, there are new things which didn't happen before, there are conferences, there are rallies, there is all the critiques against mainstream medicine, against attacks on basic liberties, and this remains. People still have it in their memory. And so I think I say the animation of the Ken Schoolan's animation is a very powerful tool, because it can convey these ideas very easily and very in a very effective manner.
And we're street activists, and I'm just off top of my head, things like business cards. We have a business card up here. We do like our business card, and it has QR codes on it. So I would do philosophy of liberty up top, on this front page, and then on the back you just print, a QR code Italian, a QR code Spanish, a QR code German, and then each region and each set of cards may have different languages. But, I tell you, from my personal experience in doing this, the impact is you get a lot of people that, they get learnified and they share with, kind of always plants a seed and it's a thing. But it's the response by the man. It is so predictable. They freak. And it's like the Barbra Streisand effect, man. Oh, pay no attention. You can't, and this thing, it's so bad. We get more attention from they, them, those being against it than actually anything that we did. So it's always that kind of opposition to freedom. Freedom's the answer. What's the question? Well, you're not allowed to even ask the question, much less share the answer. So this is a fun project. It's a simple project. It's already done project. All it needs is a resurrection from people that understand the power of this mind splinter. It's a splinter in your mind, and we need to insert it at a fundamental inception base level, that the philosophy of liberty is about you own yourself, you freaking serf. Quit being a slave. This, and then you define that, and at a young age, it'll forever stick. It'll just gnaw at you until all of a sudden, you find libertarianism and Alessandro Fusillo's subscriptions go from 130 whatever thousand to 1.3 billion. I mean, I just see this coming. It's time. And a lot of times, Ernie, how'd you know? How'd you not know? This is what I saw with the Levolution. This is what we saw with a bunch of other, the COVID thing, or our Robust Liberty Tour. So saw with our pirate stuff, saw with our safe Second Amendment is for everyone. Are you a safe congressman? Are you an unsafe legislator? I mean, that kind of thing. So every one of these has been, as a street activist, there's timing. It's time. So we're going to do this, and I'm counting on you to. So I just wanted to talk to you because I knew you'd be in, because Alessandro. But, I wanted you to get your mind turning while early days, over the holidays, talking to people, kind of asking, have they seen it? Maybe have them watch it. It's only 8 minutes. Maybe you can I want to get the response in this environment, in this propaganda deluge of freaking Bernays, slapping me around, and know what impact it has on these people that have been so immersed in this statism, collectivism, totalitarianism, we rule youism, whatever it is, and get feedback from that, because I don't really think there's anything needs to be changed. A lot of the younger guys, they go, well, that, chime bell background, I think that was from The Exorcist or something, but, that music that's behind it, because there's no verbiage, it's all text. And they, that song, we got to change the music. Nope. I like it the way it was. It was just go classic. It worked before. You're not doing it right. So this is what we're going to be setting up. And I wanted you, as you build your site, your new site, and you're getting ready to launch, I wanted you to get creative in your mind with this past knowledge, your experience with it, how you've used it, and get ready for an international freaking, we got Europe covered with law firms in Berlin, Munich, Madrid, Rome. The boy knows some people. I'm just saying, So if you're in, I already know what's going to happen. But also, what's going to happen. But there's no head of the snake. There's no centralization. There's no server to take out. There's no nothing they could do. I don't know what the hell they're going to do, but I'm kind of counting on them doing it. Know what I mean? So what do you think would be the response from governments in Europe? I mean, what could they do?
Well, this is the good part, because they can't do anything, because the video is very simple, very easy. The video states some quite obvious principles, although they go exactly against governments, and they are very disruptive principles if you are a government, but they can't really do anything about it, because it doesn't fall under the different concepts of hate speech, of limitations of free speech. In Italy, for example, we have lots of
pisses them off
laws
even more.
Which Yeah, that's it. Yeah, yeah. For example, in Italy, you can't say the president is a moron. You can risk a criminal case if you say something like this. And so we don't, for some things, we don't have free speech. But the video, the good part about the philosophy of liberty video is that it doesn't say anything which falls under hate speech, which falls under laws that prevent you to heavily criticize your government and so on, because it states very simple, very easy principles, and especially principles that most people will agree with. What I noted, the atmosphere is changing. For example, last week I was on one of my weekly interviews with the host, and there was a philosopher. He's a nice guy, but as you will find, a philosopher in Italy, he's Marxist. He's 100% Marxist, and nice guy, but still he has his problems. And he made a case for gold and for exit from fiat currency, which any Austrian economist couldn't have done better. He said it's not the dollar it's not gold which is going up, it's the dollar which is going down, because it's just fiat money that doesn't have any sense, and gold is an insurance clause against the disruption of the system by fiat money, which is just a fraud. And so I didn't say anything because I couldn't have said it better than him, and he is a Marxist. So slowly the atmosphere is changing, and I think people are more receptive to these things. I see it also from these interviews I do. One especially is from a channel. It's not mainstream, but still it's a channel which has a huge. I was always looked a little bit down because I was the anarchist, the strange guy, the libertarian, the one who said always strange things. And during the last weeks and months, people agree more and more with me because I try to do the same, to state some obvious things which come from basic principles: self-ownership, non-aggression principle. These are things which anyone would agree to, like Marx Victor's movements, you mentioned it before. Live and let live. It's very easy. It's almost too simple. But still, these are the principles which could make an orderly society possible.
I'm looking forward to the result. And the one thing is, I made it clear, I don't give a crap about metrics. Don't care, don't freaking care. They go, well, what's the metric? Because you do a search or you ask AI or you go, how many? Oh, yeah, it's got like 16,000 hits. It's not that, I can't find it. It's not there. It's kind of, something. I'm like, yep, they're suppressing. I'm going, this is, because we used that thing in the 90s like crazy. When this first internet thing started, we rocking and rolling and whatnot. And, of course, we used it, as we described. So I'm looking forward to this. I think you're probably going to get a lot more traffic in opposition to it. That's how you know it's doing. All the sites that they'll put up and being, don't look at that, Barbara Streisand effect, it's like, don't touch that red button. I mean, so the youth just loves this guy. We're going to have us some fun, Alessandro. This is right up our alley, and I definitely knew in the beginning it was like, Alessandro, he's going to, and then I talked to Ken, and he knows you, and he's like, so, man, serendipity. It's coming. I love it when a plan comes together. So what we're going to go ahead and do is coordinate with you on the building or how you want it or what formats or whatever, getting all that infrastructure done now. And we're starting this now. We're starting to load it up and do it. We need time. I mean, we're occupying the land here and doing a bunch of stuff. So I'm, gave myself enough time. But I think what'll happen is what always happens. There'll be somebody that that's a good idea, and they try and hijack it. And I don't freaking care. Copy all you want, man. Knock yourself out. This is not a money-making thing. It's how many minds you can free thing. And that gives us all wealth, more prosperity. And the other side of what's coming is going to be a little bit better off, or self-responsibility, individual liberty, self-responsibility kind of thing. So I'm looking for, what is it that you would measure as a metric for Europe? When they start what? Hey, we're turning the corner. People know there are more people in the streets, or younger people in the streets. What's your metric that you'll be looking for you're going to be very successful? You already are. I mean, you're kicking butt. Thank you. But you're looking for what? You go, whoa, I think we're making it. Made the turn. Here we go. Because of what? What are you looking for or hoping to accomplish?
Surest sign that you did something is maybe if you get some attention from mainstream media, mainstream politicians, and this is also the part where it gets dangerous. Once they see that you have traction, that you have enough followers, probably they will try to hijack it. And this happened so often because this is one of the easiest parts. If you can't beat them, join them. And so they could try to use maybe some ideas that we could diffuse on the internet. And I think this would be the sign that we really did something. For example, during the COVID time, I saw that I was really making some things when my comments on the drafts of new legislation, restrictive legislation, I saw that they were looking at what I was saying in my videos and they changed the laws accordingly. So there I hit lots of people, that lots of people were looking at my videos. That's where I stopped to comment the new laws when they were in the draft state. I just commented them after they were published on the official Gazette, because they were looking at what I was saying on the drafts. And so if you get this kind of attention, I think it's the sign that you have some traction. Anyway, if you look at the common metrics like views, likes, and so on, they are all fake. For example, on lots of videos, if you look at the first minutes after they are launched, you have more likes than views, which is impossible. And this means that they suppress both likes and views. So I think we reach out to much more people than we can read officially from the statistics that we get from platforms like YouTube or even X. They don't ban you anymore. It's more shadow banning or suppression of views, or and then you have the ever-present trolls who you recognize them.
Robots.
Once you make a rational argument, then you find someone who just who just insults and so on. But this is the sign that we touched some nerves. I can see it. For example, anytime I speak about money, which is a very sensitive argument, I always get lots of people who say that they hate me, that it's all bullshit, that I don't understand anything. So you see, once you touch some arguments, you touch some nerves, and that's where you make the difference.
Well, I'm glad you're there, because this is, and it's going to be fun. And they're going to find out whatever snakehead they try and take out. It doesn't matter. I don't care, and it doesn't matter. It just doesn't matter. It just doesn't matter. So we're going to, do this. Thanks for. I know you got to get going, but it's great that Domitia, how's your wife doing? How's your life? Are you traveling? Are you semi-retired and on vacation all the time in your mind? I mean, how are you doing, man, in the midst of all this crap?
I'm traveling a lot. Tomorrow, very early, I'll be leaving for Prague, where I'm invited to the lecture of the Constitution of Liberland. Where I was invited by Vit Jedlicka, and there will be Hans Hermann Hoppe and Stefan Kinsella. And with Stefan Kinsella, we just finished a very important project I'm very proud of, which is the Universal Principles of Liberty. We tried to condense in 3-4 pages the basic legal principles of a libertarian community. And we published it this summer, and this is getting lots of traction as well. I send you the link to these universal principles.
Absolutely.
And so then I'm doing my conferences, I'm doing my interviews, I'm working, by the way, because I still have clients and cases and lots of things to do. So yeah, and I'm very far away from retiring, unfortunately. I would like to, but it doesn't look like I will be able to retire.
Well, even if you
soon.
were, you'd be doing this anyway. That's what Mark's doing. I just talked to Mark, and he's like, he's going to sell his firm. He's doing,
yes.
So he's like, he's all in. That's one thing that they miss out. It's all the grandpas. It's like, you done pissed us off too much. We know from experience, what is and isn't the fact. Here it comes. You're gonna bring us back in. You're gonna take these young activists. You're gonna bring us back in and do some whip ass. I don't know how else to call it. Just whip ass, whip ass, whip ass. So this is going to be some fun. When you go to there, I know all these guys you're talking about. Hans Hermann Hoppe has spoken at one of our Freedom Summits. I've interviewed Stefan Kinsella. I saw him at Ron Paul's 90th birthday party. We got, a lot of these guys that are. So this project, share it with them because they're going to get contacted. We're going to do it anyway. This is all build up. See, this is one thing you're not familiar with, and probably people in America aren't familiar with it now either, but in the late 70s, I think it was, there was a movie called Billy Jack, and it was just, a B movie about, karate, a Native American at a Green Beret, corrupt politician, sheriff in Prescott, Arizona is where it was filmed. And it was a popular thing, and it kind of had its own, following. And it was a scene in there where he goes up to the sheriff and he goes, I'm going to take the right side of my right foot and put it up against the right side of your head, and there's nothing you can do about it. And he goes, oh, yeah, boom, and he takes him out. So we call it Billy Jacking what we do. We're going to tell him what we're going to do, and then it's upside the head, So this Billy Jacking, I'm going, let me tell you what we're going to do. I'm just going to tell you what we're going to – this is what we're going to do. The bad guys, they, them, those, have no concept of this. They can't. That's not how their mind works. They think it's all about power and control and shiny badges and lab coats and whatever. They don't get it. They can't get it. They can't argue against it. They just dismiss it. But then when it happens, they're like, "The hell just happened?" You got Billy jacked. We're going to tell you what's happening, and everybody's going to do it. So let's get ready to do it, and we're going to do it. Do it, whip ass. What is the translation in Italian for whip ass? We're just going to do some ass whipping. How would you say that?
I don't know. That's hard to translate. I don't know. I would need to think it over.
That's an American thing. We're going to whip ass. This has been great, Alessandro.
Yeah,
do some promotion of whatever the stuff you're doing, the sites you're on, where they can go join your gazillion followers and all that kind of stuff. But it's imagine people as activists, you have the tools, the languages, and all of Europe. Alessandro, holy crap! You want to influence Europe? Help Alessandro, man. Yeah, it's a good investment in time and money. Where can people support or subscribe or whatever you're doing, Alessandro?
Well, you can follow me on X. My handle is at Alessandro with double S, Fusi, Fusi 9. Then I have my website, which is www.defendersiora.it. But then maybe you can put the links in the description of this interview. And then I am on YouTube, of course, where I publish my videos. And my biggest social media is my Telegram channel, which is Defender Siora. Again, most of the contents are in Italian, but still it's easy nowadays with automatic translations. You can easily have it in English or in whatever language you prefer. And then the most important thing are my future projects. I will be opening a new libertarian association soon, probably at the beginning of 2026, which could be a very good thing to involve the new association in the project with the philosophy of liberty. I have lots of people who want to work with me on this project. I think some sort of libertarian organization is needed in Italy. I have been president of the libertarian movement until last September, when it was closed down. But I think I will go on with these ideas. I'm not tired yet. I have lots of things to do and to say. And so follow me on my channels. I will publish whatever I will be doing in Italy and in Europe in general. And I think we need to go on. We must be unrelenting. We must be tireless, because truth and freedom are on our sides, and so we must win. There's no alternative. And I think we will eventually show to most people the beauty of self-ownership, of freedom, of a free society. And I'm confident that these things will get more and more attention. If you look at our situation, even now with the big governments, wars and whatever, they do whatever they always do. But how many people are familiar with the philosophy of liberty now compared to 20 years ago, 30 years ago, 50 years ago? It's impressive. It's impressive, and it's the sign that the most important battle happens in the hearts and minds of people. And that's what we have to do. We don't need to gain some position of political power. That's the wrong approach. We need to talk to the people, to show them what we know, and to build up a community of freedom lovers, which gets bigger and bigger by the day.
You mean there's no central plan for freedom? I thought there was going to be a central plan. Yeah,
No.
Donna is sending you an email for you
freedom
to respond
happens
to.
in the minds of the people.
She's going to send you an email for you to respond to with all the links that you want, and she's going to put it in the archive of this show. So go ahead and do that for all your new links and so on. We'll do that. And there was, I remember a scene that was impactful on.
Sure.
I don't remember which one it was. It was Matrix second, third, whatever. And they go, they're fighting. It's for the battle in the end of why, Mr. Anderson, must you persist? And he stands up and he goes, because I choose to. And that's exactly what's going. No matter what the odds are, you're going up against the, central planner, central controller, CPU master of the whatever AI, Mr. Smith thing. And, why do you persist? Because I choose to. It's better to, die standing than on your knees kissing, licking your boot. So this is, we're just not going away. And there may be a minority, a small group of us, but there's definitely a very teeny tiny small group of whoever they think they're elite and justified in ruling you, and everybody else is just for convenience, or they're vampire familiars out walking around insulating the real bloodsuckers. So it's just, this is because we choose to. And if you choose to, do it, Alessandro, and Alessandro's part of this thing, the entire continent of Europe is covered. We got it taken care of. Woohoo! Now we got to get Alessandro's, and what do you think of Argentina? Malay, That's a mixed bag. I mean, what's your view of what's going on in Argentina and Milei?
I belong to the libertarians who are very skeptical about Javier Milei. I made some interviews with German channels about Milei, and I made 2 interviews, and then we organized a debate with Philip Bagus, who is one of his biggest sponsors, last week. You can find all the links on my Telegram channel. I think, to put it very shortly, Milei, maybe he said something fine when he was in his campaign in 2023, but since he assumed office, he didn't do anything really libertarian. He did some good things. He slashed some regulations and some useless posts of government officials, which is okay, but it's nothing more than you had from Margaret Thatcher or Ronald Reagan, and they did even more probably. And but the main issue, his promise to shut down the central bank, is just a politician's promise. They will not close the central bank. The money supply quadrupled during these 2 years. And this is the sign that the usual guys of finance and banking are in charge. Maybe once in a while Javier Milei says funny things, and he is a good speaker, but that's it. I can give a good speech, but then nothing real happens. And then he is the proof, the demonstration that you cannot really change things from a political perspective. What he said, I am an outsider, I will get inside in order to destroy the state from within. This is impossible. It never happened, and it cannot happen, because once you are there, you will just do what they pay you, they blackmail you. I don't know how, but anyway, it's impossible to change things from within. That's why I like a grassroots approach, like the one of the video of the philosophy of liberty, because the real power of government doesn't come from the violence, doesn't come from the army, from the police, whatever they have, but the real power of governments comes from the minds of the people who are convinced that they have this power. If no one obeys, no one can command. That's the real issue. So I think our battle is much more important than any political battle.
I am in so much agreement, and I'm so glad that you're excited about. I think you're one of the few people that, on an international and influential level, such as yourself, that truly understands, what we're trying to do. And I do a show with James tomorrow night, and I'm gonna, I tried hooking you guys up. Didn't you communicate?
We did. I wanted to send another follow-up email to James, say hello to him, and I hope that we will get in touch also personally sooner or later. Yes, he's a terrific guy. I am a follower of his newsletters since long years, way before you put us in touch, and I think he does a great job. Yes.
Yeah. No, I'm gonna encourage him to get you on and talk about this or whatever else you're doing, and get his audience to help you. The new effort that you're launching, Alessandro's got to come up with a name. Of course, I don't speak Italian, but whatever. I mean, it's just I have no idea. The libertarian movement, Movimento Libertario was the previous organization with other people that have kind of aged out, and we're good. But what would it be? And the word libertarian, what was interesting, and I talked about this last night to some people in the Libertarian Party here. I was at the meeting, and I'm going, when we thought of doing this, I could think of all these people such as yourself. It didn't even occur to me to approach the Libertarian Party in the United States. Didn't even think of it. Because I'm like, I was talking to Mary Ruart, which, was on the Libertarian National Committee. She ran for the presidential nomination. She's very well known in libertarian circles. She's author of Healing Our World, kind of a left touchy-feely, version of, why it's moral to be libertarian, free, non-aggression principle, that kind of stuff. And I asked her, I'm going, well, what are they doing? Well, they're in kind of a reconstruction. They always are, and it seems to me that whenever you create an organization that's centralized around a project, a movement, sooner or later, that organization becomes more important than the reason you created it. It always happens. And the Libertarian Party, definitely that. And they, 10,000 here or 100,000 there, you can control ballot status of 50 states and being kingmakers for whatever office that you're pressuring some Democrat or Republican that's not, goose stepping the whatever central bank thing that you want, or energy thing, or whatever, Trump thing, or whatever. So I didn't even think of the Libertarian Party. It didn't even cross my mind, and that's kind of sad. When you think libertarian, you think in Europe like Alessandro, in America maybe Ron Paul, maybe Mises Institute, maybe Students for Liberty, that kind of stuff, but not a political organization. So any of the politicians or politicos or lobbyists, legislator, whatever I talk to, they're going, yeah, well, what's your numbers and how big? I'm going, man, you're still voting? I mean, seriously? And that's one thing. Voting in Europe, has it kind of waxed and waned and it's not really a solution? Is election fraud kind of a real concern of the populace? How's this voting to fix things setting with Europeans?
Well, I think any intelligent European by now knows perfectly that voting doesn't make any sense, especially because now they changed the strategy. They don't. I think they cheat at elections. That they always did it, and that's no news. But nowadays they make sure that the candidates which could be maybe inconvenient, they take them out from the beginning. It's happening in Germany. It happened in Moldavia, in Romania. They just they make some crazy court decisions, and the candidates are banned or they are in prison because of some trumped up accusations. And so they make sure that you can only choose among people who are within the system. And so voting doesn't really make any sense. It always like this. Our last example where the general elections in Italy in 2022, the coalition that won is theoretically conservative coalition, more in the direction of Trump and the Republicans in the United States, but they are doing the same politics as the left-wing ones. You see there is an agenda, and they are following the agenda, and that's it. So that's always the same.
They see that power comes from shiny badges. I mean, even Trump learned that. I'm president of the United States of America, and you'll do what I maybe not. So this is so obvious, and we're going to demonstrate. This is going to be powerful. I'm telling you, I'm confident that there's in the least amount of effort, it's already done. We already have the infrastructure, the contacts, the technology. I'm excited. And I'm giving ourselves some time, that they're going to have to, press the button and have a mushroom cloud somewhere, because damn it. And that was one thing Corbin and I came up with, is like, they have artwork for it. Nuclear war, comply no more. I see a mushroom cloud, that's it. Compliance is done. The whole reason you're there, protect individual rights and keep us from war, all these other promises. You got mushrooms, you trying to go in the war, and it seems like European Union, they definitely want to spend some money on some tanks or something with Russia. And I'm going, you do that, you're done. Why are you there? Nuclear war, comply no more. We're done. You bring it. But as a peaceful alternative, we'll just change the minds of many people by understanding the philosophy of liberty is you own yourself. That's it. That's it. And everything derives from there. So that's what we're going to do. Alessandro, I'm so glad to talk to you again. We could go on for hours, but I know you got to go. But I'm telling you, love you, brother. I'm so you benefit to humanity,
I have to, yes.
and I'm going to milk the crap out of you.
Thank you, Ernest. As usual, it's been a pleasure being with you, and let's talk again soon. And yes, and let's push for the new project of making the philosophy of liberty available for everyone all over the world. Okay.
Boom. We're in. Peace, brother. Thanks for coming on.